Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Step Chat. Sorry about that. Yes, you'll notice that tonight's episode is definitely not coming from the Fortress of Solitude, is in fact coming from, well, technically, I guess this would be the real Fortress of Solitude. Um, anyway, I got a notification at about 4 o'clock this afternoon that that the internet at my shop was out. It was very funny because I was sitting there actually working on the computer, and all of a sudden I get a text message from our service, and they're like, "Oh, we're so sorry that your internet's been disconnected." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like, "Yeah." So naturally I go to something and try to reload the page, and sure enough, the internet's not working now. And of course, it was scheduled to be back online again at 5:55 p.m. And so at that point, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to take a chance. So we packed everything up and jumped in the car and got home and set up a little makeshift shop here. And so there we go. Which I will be talking about this a little bit later on during the show. Um, but for now, I do apologize. Yes, hello, Murphy. Come here. You want trying to get? Are you trying to get the shot? I don't know what you're trying to do. Hello, everybody. So yes, Murphy is here with me as well. Good to see you guys. Don't lick the ear, dude. You can't lick the headphone. You can't. You can't lick the pod. So good to see you. Hello, 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 Angela. Good to see you. Thank you for being here, Greg Aragoni, as always, sir. One of our fine crew members at Float. Good to see you as well. So yeah, there we go. So yes, I'm a little grainier than normal. Um, um, hey, Steve, this Fit for Float is working. I'm not sure what that means. Um, Dina, hello, everybody. Dina, good to see you. Lorena, good to see you as well. And to Milton, there you go. I'm not sure what MT means, so there's that. Um, but yeah, it's good to see everybody. It's interesting. This has been a interesting week, to say the least. But it's as far as the floativerse is concerned, it's been kind of calm, but it's the calm before the storm in many ways because once we start getting into all this stuff, things are going to start hitting pretty hard, pretty quick. Hello, Joette. Good to see you, and Amanda Bruce. Good to see you as well. Thank you. I wondered if it's very interesting because as I've been working here on the computer, he's been asleep at my feet. And I swear to God, the moment the show starts, now it's like, I need attention. I need attention. Hello, Dory. Good to see you. Working my nerves. Oh, I see. Cramping and drinking water. Oh, I understand now. Okay. Gotcha. Um, yes. Well, I will say that so far in my quest to get fit for float, I'm happy to share that I'm down 14 pounds. Um, Now, again, I am very well aware that it's easier for men to lose weight than it is for women. So for that, I do apologize. But on behalf of my gender, I apologize. But it's not. I mean, it does involve sacrifice. It does involve changes. It does involve everything, and frankly, it involves a hell of a lot of water. Mm, hold on. So guess what's just been resolved? My internet at the shop. Yay. Okay. Um, so there we go. It wouldn't have been on time, so it was close, but there you go. All right. So Dory Sapol, good to see you as well. How you doing? Thank you for being here. All right. Why don't we get to the show here and get going and get to all this fun stuff and we'll chat up with everybody. We don't have a tremendous amount of content tonight, but of course, as we all know, that doesn't mean that I won't ramble on and on and on and on. But yeah, we'll see what we got going here. So let's make sure that the computer is sharing everything properly. I'm watching there is that. So far, so good. Looks like it's going pretty well. And there we go. Okay, fantastic. So, welcome everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Step Chat here our little breakdown of the Floativerse week by week and keeping you up to date in all the things that are orange. Okay, we have some updates. I mean, this week is basically going to be just a lot of updates. There's not a lot of new information that we're going to share with everybody, but there is some important stuff that we do want to update you on. So let's get started with that. The first round of things that we need to update you on are the faculty and the float draft, which took place over the last several weeks. Um, as I mentioned prior last week, um, this was about the process was about done, right? We were waiting on one instructor to give their finalization, to give their final acceptance. And then at that point, we would be done. And at 5:45 a.m. on Monday morning, my time, that came to a complete conclusion when the instructor reached out and said, "Hey, I just got the contract. I'm happy. I accept." So, with that being said, the process of the draft is officially over. Everyone involved in the draft process, whether you were accepted or not, has been contacted, was informed of the outcome. And again, there were some really good people, unfortunately, that just did not get tapped for one reason or another. While I have everybody's attention, I do kind of feel like maybe I'll take a minute to give a little bit of insight and some patterns and things that we saw over this process that that led people to the decisions that they did. Um, One of the challenges in this, I mean, because everybody always says, "What classes should I teach?" And I say the same thing every time. I want you to propose classes that you are passionate about teaching. That is what I want you to do. I want you to pitch classes that you are passionate about teaching. Unfortunately, that does not always mean that that is what the sponsors are looking for. But I also don't want you coming together and saying, okay, well, I know the sponsors are looking for this and I can kind of teach that. That's not what we want. We want the best people for the job. This is not to imply that if you proposed classes for float and didn't get tapped, you're not good at what you do. It doesn't mean that you're not, excuse me, it doesn't mean that you're not an expert at what you were talking about. But for whatever reason or another, the issue fell into play that it didn't work out. Now, some of the feedback that I've gotten from sponsors, um, in almost every case, and this is something that is very predictable. This is something that is very predictable. Um, People that sell balloons for a living, or better yet, people who make balloons for a living, want teachers that are showcasing balloons. This year, we received a huge amount of applications from people that were offering business oriented classes, whether they were marketing classes, whether they were operational classes, whether they were logistical classes or whatever. But unfortunately, what our sponsors wanted more than anything was design classes and classes that were heavily focused on showing you what can be done with their product. And while that is something that can be predicted, it doesn't mean I want people submitting classes that they shouldn't be proposing. Um, I will say that some very big name people were not tapped. There were some very big name people who I swear, when I saw their names in the hat at the last minute, I assumed, I honestly, genuinely assumed that our sponsors reached out to those people and said, "Hey, get your application in. We want to tap you." So, needless to say, I was quite surprised when some of those individuals did not get tapped. Um, Another reality that kicked in this year that was very important to keep in mind was that a lot of our sponsors are concerned about where the economy is going over the course of the next 9 months, 8 months, which I'm sure a lot of you are. Um, but that had to come into play when it came to choosing teachers. It didn't, not with everybody, of course, but with a lot of our manufacturers, that came into effect. So a lot of the international people were kind of written off right off the bat. Um, Now, that's not to say that all of them, and there will be some internationals that will be announcing, next week when we start our announcements. But unfortunately, a lot of the internationals were kind of unofficially checked off because of that reason alone. Um, so it is one of those. It's just it's one of those situations where we can't always predict what's going to happen. But both of these are, to be honest, fairly consistent because we do run into situations where um, in the past sponsors have said, "Oh, we don't want to spend the money on international tickets, or we don't want to spend this or that." Um, Another factor that is absolutely, I think, come into effect to a degree is price. Not in every case, but a lot of the instructors, in my opinion, proposed salaries or requested salaries that are higher than traditional. This is not to imply that they're not worth it. Not at all. That's not what I'm saying. But again, when you've got certain talent that wants X amount of money, and then you've got another level of talent that wants X amount plus Y, and you're in a situation where you're trying to think about, okay, where are we going to best spend our money? It's very much like the draft. You have to decide whether or not it's is a big ticket person worth it or not worth it in this case, or can we get more mileage out of some folks that are open to negotiation on pricing? Um, so these are all factors that came into play. Again, though, I cannot absolutely say with 100% certainty that I cannot specifically state why any one individual person did not get tapped because they don't share that information with me. They don't say that you know that I will say there's some people that I am absolutely shocked that didn't get tapped. Um, but it just goes to show you that we don't always know what they're thinking. Um, so, with that being said, I do want to remind everybody that we won't be keeping these names for secret much longer. In fact, as we've already pointed out before, I am thrilled to share with you that starting a week from tonight, we will begin sharing with you the names of the upcoming instructors headed your way to Float 2026 in Reno. Let's go a little more into that detail, shall we? First of all, 1 week from tonight, Step Chat with yours truly will be hosting, and I will be announcing three instructors. Three instructors will be revealed a week from tonight, right here live on this show. So excited about that. And that's all I'm going to say there. Then on Monday, our good friend Teresa Harding will be back joining us again for an episode of TMI, and she'll be joining us because she's going to be announcing two different instructors during her show on Monday, May 26th. So now, again, I do want to reiterate yes, Sunday, May 25th and Monday, May 26th are in fact on Memorial Day weekend. So I do apologize for those of you that are going to be doing stuff, whatever. I do apologize, but unfortunately, the Floativerse waits for no man. So Teresa will be joining us. She'll be announcing two new instructors during her show. Then, after Teresa's done, our good friend Pia Guadalupe will be joining us that same night as well for La Familia Float. She will be announcing no uno, no dos, para tres, tres maestros. Yes, so Pia will be announcing three instructors on on Monday. That'll be at 6 p.m. So Teresa's show, sorry, Teresa's show will be at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and Pia's show will be at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So that way, there's no rush between. If you want to do the double feature, that way you get to go and go to the restroom, get a snack or whatever, and then get back on the show again. Now, of course, to be fair, Pia's show will almost be entirely taught or presented in Spanish. So there's that for you. So keep that in mind. Then on Tuesday, our good friend Lisa McIntyre will be back once again with Kicking Back with Lisa Mack. That's I forgot to flop the slide out. Sorry, that's supposed to say May 27th, not March 27th. I fixed it in the end video. I forgot to swap it out here. But Lisa will be hosting, and she will also be introducing 3 instructors that evening during her show. So we're very excited to have that. That'll be taking place on Tuesday, May 27th at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and whatever the hell time it is where you are. Then on the following Wednesday, Lisa returns along with the other ladies of the Working Wonders. So Debbie Levy, Ronnie Johnson, and Crystal Rutten. They will be hosting a special edition on Wednesday, May 28th at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and whatever the hell time it is where you are. They will be revealing 8 instructors. During Working Wonders, they will be revealing 8 of our instructors coming your way. Basically, the remaining 8. Well, I should say, supposed to be announcing the remaining 8. I'll get to that in a minute. And then on Thursday, we're going to switch gears in the metaverse and we're going to jump over to Instagram. And I'm going to do a live Instagram feed on Thursday night at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, over at the Real Float 2026, where I'll be revealing all of our masterclass instructors headed your way at Float 2026. So that's a very exciting thing to be sure. Very, very exciting to be sure. Now, why did I say maybe 8? So, first of all, before I get into that. Hi, Dominique. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Julie, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Ronnie Crouch, good to see you as well. Miss seeing you guys as well. Okay, there we go. Okay. What do I mean by maybe 8? So, we do have one fly in the ointment, as it were. One of our sponsors is going through some stuff right now. And as a result, I spoke with, why am I pull? I don't need to pull. I don't. You can figure this out. Why do I need to pull punches here? So our good friends at Prima are going through some transitional stuff right now, and as many of you, I mean, this is not news that you haven't heard already, but the vast majority of the Prima management team has been let go. And now the owners of the company are kind of filling in until they redirect everything. With that being said, the previous administration or the previous management was dealing with the instructor situation. Well, the problem is the instructor had been spoken to, like, yeah, I'm interested in doing it, but none of the details were ever worked out. And apparently, since that time, between when the former people were let go and now, apparently there's been this whole like limbo thing where nobody seems to know what's going on with that situation. And I reached out to the other day and I said, hey, what's going on? Have you spoke with anybody? And the instructor's like, no, and I don't know who to even talk to at this point. And I'm like, oh, okay, well then let me see if I can get involved. So I stepped in this morning and sent an email to the Prima ownership in the hopes of getting something figured out. And what we did is we proposed to them the idea of either, if you're good with this individual, can we please get these details hammered out in time for the announcements? I said, if you're really not sure what you're going to do, Do you want to release that teaching spot? And then, because we have another company who's lined up, who's like, they really want to sponsor a teacher if they can get in. Um, like I said, I had a waiting list of teacher of companies that missed out, right? So so the idea there is, if we are announcing an instructor, if the situation with the premium instructor is figured out in time, then the Working Wonders will announce 8 instructors. If it's not worked out in time, they'll be announcing 7 instructors, and then we'll have to keep you up to date as to what's going on with the one instructor. Um, but that's where we are. So I don't mind sharing that because, like I said, this is like the worst kept secret in the industry right now. Anyway, that they were all let go. Um, so yeah, so I just thought I would share that real quick, and you can digest it with how you will. Um, but um, but yeah, so there's a lot of, I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm really glad a lot of this is taking place now, because we have plenty of time to address it and to deal with it, and as opposed to last time when it happened 3 weeks before the convention. I'm still a little bit scarred from that. Now, after Thursday, excuse me, Thursday is not the end of everything though, because Saturday, May 31st, so basically 2 weeks from yesterday, the discounts for float officially, well, a lot of the discounts, I shouldn't say all of them, but several of the discounts related to float academic, sorry, let me try this one more time. While they are all not ending on May 31st, several of the different access packages to float will be running out on May 31st. That includes the academic pass, the weekend pass, and the jam pass. The weekend passes will increase by $25. So on May 31st, they go from 225 to 250. I know a lot of you are thinking to yourself, big deal, $25. Who cares if I miss it? Understood. Same thing with the Jam Pass. Pricing schedule on the Jam Pass is $350 by May 31st, and then it goes up to $375 on June 1st. Again, $25, not such a big deal. This is where the damage is going to get done. The registration fee for float goes from $595 to $695 if you want to be an academic attendee at the convention. So it is imperative to you that you get your registration fee paid by May 31st if you want to get there for the lower price of $595. We are not extending this discount rate past May 31st. We are starting to see an uptick in registration, which is what we expected right about now. Um, I think we've picked up maybe 10 new registrations in the last week or so. Um, so again, I'm not surprised. Again, with the discount deadline coming up, you're going to start seeing a lot more of that. So I'll be curious to see where we are when June 1st rolls around. But but yeah, that's where we are. So if you want to save money on float and you haven't yet registered, you definitely want to do so before. Now, I also want to reiterate, there are 2 levels of registrations that will not be increasing. The first of which is the international rate. The international rate will remain the same at $575, and that will remain all the way until January 3rd. So, if you are a resident of Alaska or Hawaii or any other country, you are eligible for the international rate of 575. The reason we extend this to folks in Alaska and Hawaii is because, as you all know, um, traveling right now is not getting cheaper by any means. Well, imagine what it's like to fly in from, say, Juneau or Anchorage or from Honolulu or Maui. It's kind of a big deal. Um, so, as a result, we want to make sure that those individuals get a slight different price break because it's harder for them to get here. It's absolutely more difficult. It's a lot more expensive. And a lot of this we do as well for our international travelers, because if you've ever traveled internationally before, you know what a pain in the butt it is to have to deal with customs and all the stuff related to coming here. So, with that being said, we want to make sure that those individuals also know that they're appreciated for going through the effort and the grief of coming to America to attend our event. So there's. Uh, Miss Stephanie, hey Steve, what are your current totals if you can share? Um, the only number that I can actually give right now um, is the general attendance, and I want to say that's 236. Um, again, we've not we hit after the registrations came in, and after the deadline hit for the returning rate, the rapid return rate. At that point, we knew it was going to be kind of a brick wall for a while. The real question will be where's the attendance at on June 1st with the discount rate coming to a dead. And I also, I know we have a lot more than that because we have staff, right? We have sponsors, we have teachers, we have all that stuff. But those individuals haven't all registered yet. So if I had to guesstimate where we are right now based on the number of booths that we have enrolled, based upon the number of teachers and staff and their sponsors and all that stuff, I would say it's safe to say at this point, total attendance is currently at about 425, 430, something like that. That would be my intelligent guess where we are at the moment, including all those individuals. So we still have a long way to go. Okay. Now let's take a moment and talk about Aloft, which is our 24-hour streaming service that Float offers to our members. This involves a series of educational videos, live virtual classes every month, and the exclusive Rubber Bubble podcast, which is hosted by yours truly. Um, our class on Tuesday was great. Had a great time with Sharessa Sawyer, the Avoiding Business Burnout class. This was actually, it was really, really good. And it's, like I said before, I think it was really great. And a lot of people got actually engaged in the class. Like a lot of people actually said, look, here I am. I'm willing to be I'm willing to be a shoulder or an ear to somebody if you need it. I thought that was really, really nice. Um, so yeah, there were some really good things that happened in the class. As far as the replay goes, um, Sharessa was nice enough to send me her slideshow so that I could integrate it into the video. Unfortunately, as is typical, I forgot to tell her my Gmail account is connected to Balloon Designers, not to Float. So when somebody sends me a link to floatconvention.com, I can't open it. I got to get special permission. And of course, I didn't open the email till Friday afternoon, probably well after she was out of the office. So I can only assume she's not going to get my email till tomorrow morning. So with that being said, this coming week is a lighter week for balloon designers, thankfully. Um, the week up to Memorial Day weekend is often slow for us because we have a fairly high minimum order requirement. So I mean, we have some events, but not many. And so, with that being said, I should be able to easily get to it once I get the updated files. So, and if you were live on the class, you know that at one point those slides are going to be essential because Sharessa was teaching the class and didn't realize, and I didn't pay attention that I never put two and two together. I thought she was still doing her introduction, and then I realized that her slideshow was not actually shared with us. So we have to kind of lay that over and fix that. So there's all that. But it was a great class. Really excited about it, and the replay will be available very soon for you. I also want to remind everybody that if you took part in the Aloft promotion with the former Balloon Training Institute library, the deadline to join Aloft and get this access was on the deadline for this was on Thursday, which was May 15th. So if you're just now hearing about this, I'm sorry you're too late to download. The promotion is over. Um, However, I do want to remind everyone in the Aloft world that if you are partaking in this promotion, if you are going to download the former Balloon Training Institute library of videos, you must download them. Excuse me. You must download them by May 31st. Allow me to expand on this. You don't, okay. First of all, I do need to vent for a second because so many of you are demonstrating that you're not reading the emails. I literally sent out an email with a step by step instructional process. This is how you get the videos. And then I'm getting dozens of emails from people. I'm logged into a loft and I can't find the BTI library. And they're replying from the same email that has the step by step instructions. So at least I get to have a little fun there for a moment and I get to be like, you didn't read the email. The only one person argued with me. Oh, yes, I did. I'm like, if you did, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Um, so there's that. But there is one thing that I have to make very clear to everybody, and that is that there is a difference between purchasing the videos and downloading the videos. Okay. When you go into the Balloon DVDs download site and you put them all in your cart and you purchase them using the coupon code, you then get an email that says click here to download the videos. Some of you are stopping at that point thinking, great, I've done what I needed to do. No, you have not. You need to actually download them. Don't just get the email and stick it in a folder. You need to download the videos because on June 1st, those videos are being removed from they're being removed from the site and they're done. If you've seen any of the behind the scenes drama, well, not behind the scenes at all. If you've seen any of the public drama involved with the former owners, not Angie, but the original owners, I want this stuff off my plate as soon as possible. So it's being removed on June 1st. So, in other words, if you make your purchases and then you sit on that email, and then on June 2nd or 3rd, you're like, okay, now I'm going to download the videos. You're going to find out they're gone. You're going to find out they're gone. So please make sure that you take some time to schedule that ahead of time. I also want to remind you that if you are a former BTI member who purchased some of their videos and you're also involved in that, right? You've got your own codes and everything else to download your videos. But you were also, as part of the whole transition thing, you were offered a 6-month free membership to a loft. That membership needs to be cashed in again by May 31st. This is not an open invitation for you to decide to do whenever you want to do it. If you want to take advantage of the free 6 months, you do have to do it by May 31st. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, the members of the Balloon Training Institute that have been shuffled around in this whole process and the whole bit, because they're ultimately losing the online access that they have 24/7, we offered them in addition to giving them the videos, we offered them a complimentary 6-month membership to a loft. Thought, okay, you know what? Here, we feel bad for you. Here's the situation. So now, if you're already a member of a loft, it doesn't apply to you. Sorry, this is for new members only. Um, but again, it's not an open invitation, so they have to do it, and you have to make the you have to get signed up for it before May 31st. If you don't, thanks for playing, but unfortunately, you will have missed that opportunity. So when it comes to the former Balloon Training Institute, you've got till May 31st to download your videos, and you've got May 31st to take advantage of the Aloft promotion. Episode 23 of the Rubber Bubble Podcast is done, and it was submitted, but I haven't gotten notification yet that it's been uploaded. So I do apologize. But episode 23 of the Rubber Bubble Podcast, I'm not the most social person, was in fact completed, edited, uploaded, and sent to the guys to upload to the website. So I'm just waiting on them to get to it. In case you're wondering, this particular episode, I am by no means a internet expert. When it comes to social media, I'm not the best in the world, but I have learned 3 things that have absolutely proven to be profitable and have been positive for our business. Three different things that I've done on social media that have made that have resulted in real sales. And so, with that being said, I took some time this month to talk about that. So, once that episode is up online, you want to listen up, and it's a short. It's 40 minutes, so it's not a super long episode. So there's that. So, there you go. Hey, it's 6:37. There we go. Now, some of you might be wondering, why are we looking at Float 2024's logo when we're getting ready for Float 2026? Well, I've been experiencing a snag, which we've talked about, and the reason it's in the aloft section is because it pertains to videos. So, set the Wayback Machine for March of 2024. We offered to the flotation people and to the people that canceled. Um, they canceled too late, that they were going to get the recordings of the classes, of the 10 classes that we recorded at the convention. As I mentioned previously, several of those videos were received damaged. They were they're not they're not impossible. They're not completely unusable, excuse me. But they are, however, very difficult to watch. There is a tremendous audio issue that is taking place sporadically through the recording. And when I say it's it's literally like every 5 or 10 seconds, it's like a buzz, it's like a, it's like a, it's like a, and I, it, I tried to go back in and see if I could tweak it. And I swear to God, it's like you're literally making an edit every 5 seconds. Um, with a 90-minute class, that's a hell of a long time. And at this point, we've just decided to write those classes off. So here's what we're going to do. As of right now, there are 4 classes that were completed and done. There's one more class that was recorded by the other team that should be fine. The problem with that particular class is it's the class by Dayloons at Float. The problem with that class is that the way the camera is positioned in the recording, there are times when when Dolly and Eddie have stepped out of shot, which is very frustrating. Um, and I'm not going to go into it, but it's frustrating. Um, so what I need is their slideshow, so that way I can integrate the slideshow in as well to kind of help fix those spots where, like, you're just listening to them talk. This is, trust me when I say this has all been very problematic. Once I have that video completed, then everybody who's eligible for those videos is going to receive an access code so that they can download the 4 classes that are already online and then the one additional class that we're going to be completing. And then, because I have opted to scrap the other 3 or the other 5 classes, we are going to provide you with a financial credit of $250 that you can use for other digital downloads on the Balloon DVDs download site. There's nothing I can do about it. So rather than say, "Oh, so sorry, you're not going to get them," I thought, okay, well, what can I do to make this right? So you're going to get a credit for $250. You could spend it any way you want on the site. So that should actually work pretty well. Hello there, Jenny. Good to see you. So it's my hope that that will suffice for the absence of those classes that that have just not been able to be recorded, um, or the recording was not adequate. Um, the good news is moving ahead to float 2026, we have spent extra money with the AV team. That's Let's try this again. So, as you know, last year at the convention in 2024, we had an outside AV company running the evening events, and our regular AV team ran um, ran the classroom stuff. Well, given the fact that this year we have 10 different classes going at one time, it's just not doable anymore. It's just not doable for our team to manage that anymore. So we have since hired that outside company to now take over pretty much all of the AV at Float. There will be a few things here and there that our team will be doing in-house, but for the most part, the outside folks that you saw during the social functions, they'll be running all the AV this year. With that being said, all of Float's classes this year, the general classes, all of the general classes are being recorded. So this time around, we're going to have the luxury of being able to potentially offer all of them. Now, I do need to be clear though, because a lot of people are like, oh my God, that's great. Oh my God, Loft will have all those classes. Well, no, because you also have to keep in mind that from an ethical perspective, we pay the teachers for that recording. So if we are recording the class, but we don't use the recording, then I'm not obligated to pay the instructor because we're not using the content somewhere else. Does that make sense? But if we choose to put that video on a Loft, then I am under an obligation to pay that instructor. It's only fair. Well, and we normally pay the instructors a $500 bonus. There are 50 general classes going to be taught at Float this year. That's 25 grand that has to suddenly manifest itself from out of the air to put all of those classes onto the Aloft streaming program. And we could sit here all day long. I mean, dear God, we had this promotion with the BTI classes or BTI videos, and we probably picked up 30 or 40 new people. So I don't know that we're going to see enough people joining a Loft to justify a $25,000 expense. So we'll see how it goes. We'll take it from there and we'll play it by ear. Sandy Presley, good to see you. And by the way, I actually did sit down today to email you and I got sidetracked. So, Sandy, tonight when I'm done with the show, I'm going to send that to you so you have it. Okay. I promise. Okay. So that's where we're at as far as all this goes. If you have any questions about that, by all means, throw them in the chat, or I will be more than happy to address them privately as well. So there's that. Okay, now let's get to the more street level float stuff. Let's start with the step chat survey. This was a topic that I dropped today that I kind of pretty much figured I knew the answers for the most part, but I still wanted to see what people had to say about it. If you missed the question, today's question, and by the way, we drop the step chat survey question now every Sunday in the Float the Convention group. Okay. Um, this particular episode or this particular question was pertaining to what is your biggest obstacle in attending a convention? Not necessarily Float. Um, it wasn't necessarily directed at Float. It was really about any convention at all. Naturally, there were some people that specifically targeted that Float, but that wasn't the point. So, for example, is it the lost revenue from when you leave town? Are you losing too much money, or are you afraid of losing too much money when you go out of town? Is it childcare, or do you have an elderly parent that you can't leave behind and no one to take care of them? Is it you just don't think there's a big enough return on the investment to go? Is there some other reason? But the number one reason, without question, and this is pretty much what I expected it to be, was the combined financial costs of attending the convention. It's not just the registration, of course. It's the travel costs involved. It's the hotel room. It's the food, and then naturally, people end up spending money too at these events. They buy things, they do all kinds of stuff, and as a result of which, um, it all adds up. So I wasn't surprised to see, and of course, there were a couple people that brought up a good point, and it's really more of a combination of 2 choices. It's more of a combination of the travel expenses plus the loss of income, because it is in many regards, if you don't have a large eno if you're a sole business like me and A to the L to the XA, right? And if it's your sole income, then you're not just spending money to go, you're also losing the opportunity to make money at home. So, yeah, it's a thing, and I totally get that, but it was good to see so many people having conversations about this. There were a few surprising things that came out of the answers. I was very surprised to find out that some of you are just now discovering that float is taking place at a casino. We've only been talking about it for 14 months, but um, so that was a thing. Um, uh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Diana Glandon brought up some really good points about trend. Of course, these are all things that we honestly expected. Um, the reasons why people, the sales are all about overcoming obstacles, right? Or overcoming challenges and what have you. Um, and so naturally, Diana Glandon listed several that are specific to float, right? Um, for example, there are not a tremendous amount of direct flights that fly into Reno. So almost everybody who is going to attend, well, not almost everybody, but a lot of people who are going to attend float are going to end up having to probably make a connection somewhere where they may not normally have to, especially when we were in the Midwest. Um, a lot of people on the East Coast I know are going to complain and gripe and moan about the travel expenses. With all respect intended, you've had it really good for 10 conventions. And when Float was in the Midwest, I got nothing but complaints from the Californians, right? Californians were always like, it's too expensive. I've got complaints from people here in Washington and Oregon. It's too expensive to fly there, blah, blah, blah. When is it coming this way? But again, the whole reason we went to Reno is not to move it to the West Coast. The reason we went to Reno is because we found a venue that was big enough that would let us do everything we need to do and not charge us an arm and a leg for it. That's the bottom line. Um, some folks were concerned about cigarette smoke in the casino. And yes, it is true. The casino does allow smoking. However, the casino has spent a tremendous amount of money on air filtration. And while you can't help but smell it in the casino itself, you're not gagging on smoke. You can smell the smoke, but you're not gagging on smoke. It's not like suddenly you can't breathe. It's just, oh, what's that smell? But when you get down to the event center, you don't notice it at all. Like they do a really good job of that. It's something they've spent a lot of money on making sure that doesn't happen. Um, Complaints about the potential weather. It's January. It's January, guys. I don't want more to tell you there. I mean, Chicago, Reno is better than Chicago when it comes to weather. So weather if you went to Chicago, you can't. I really feel like you can't complain about the weather in Reno if you went to Chicago. So, so there's that. But these are all, I mean, they're all valid points, and everybody's got their own reasons. And of course, I have a feeling, the one thing that nobody wanted to talk about too was the fear of the recession, fear of tariffs, fear of all this other stuff. But again, that would make it specific to right now and not, in general. So, but with that being said, I do want to. We had a lot of responses to this survey. I think about 50 people responded. So I do want to thank everybody for taking the time to fill out the survey form and let us know your thoughts. Okay, I just want to take a moment to remind everybody Obviously, we're doing Step Chat right now live on Facebook. The full episode, the full recording of this episode will be uploaded to our YouTube channel tomorrow. That'll be on Monday, the 19th. And then on Tuesday, the Step Chat summary version, which will be anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes long, that'll be uploaded onto YouTube as well. Don't forget, you can find us on YouTube at the Floativerse on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@ the Floativerse. And of course, we would greatly appreciate it if you would like us, if you would share our posts, if you would subscribe to us. And if you do want to be notified every time we upload a new video, by all means, ring the bell, and that way you'll get your notifications sent right to you. Fit for Float, as we've talked about earlier, is going nice and strong. Lisa McIntyre is leading a group of folks who are trying to lose weight for the convention. So if you have any interest at all in dropping a few pounds and being a little bit skinnier when we get to Reno, by all means, please feel free to join us. It is a it is a Facebook group. You do have to be approved to be in the group. It's it's not just a blank we're in. You have to be approved, but I believe it's facebook.com/groups/fit for float. And that, of course, is FOR, not the number four. But again, Lisa likes to host Weigh In Wednesday, which is kind of just a weekly check in with everybody. It's not so much a physical weigh in where you're asked to share your weight online or anything, but it is something where it's just like a weekly check in, like a reminder kind of thing. And yeah, this, by the way, is my third. This will be 90 something ounces of water today, which again is extremely instrumental in weight loss, which it's amazing how much weight you can drop quickly just by drinking a lot of water. So there's that. And speaking of Lisa McIntyre, I do want to remind everybody that this coming Tuesday night is our next episode of Kicking Back with Lisa Mack. That'll be right here on the Facebook page at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's right, whatever the hell time it is where you are. This is our virtual happy hour where Lisa hosts a weekly Zoom call. You can find the link to the Zoom call in the Float Facebook group, the private group behind the security wall. And then the show is broadcast here on the Facebook page. Anybody can join in as long as you got the access link. Or of course, if you're not comfortable getting on the live call, you can always just go ahead and make comments in the chat, just like people have done here tonight. And there we go. And then after the show after about an hour, Lisa stops the live broadcast, and then it goes directly just within the Zoom call itself. It goes into what's called after party mode. And to be honest with you, that's when a lot of people get on the call. Some people are just not comfortable being broadcast on Facebook. Other people don't want to talk about certain topics on Facebook, so they wait till it's over. And so, yeah, it's entirely up to you. But everyone is welcome. So again, Tuesday night, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's right. And with that being said, that is the end of tonight's episode. Well, I should say tonight at the end of tonight's broadcast of the episode. There's that. So, well, no, it's not right either. It doesn't matter. Whatever. So, Sherry Hatcher, good to see you, and thank you. Good job. Good job on the water. Thank you. So there we go. Tabitha Miller, just joining. Are you broadcasting from Mom's in Texas? No, I am not. No, I am not actually. So let me go back to that initial topic that we talked about at the very beginning. As I mentioned before, about at 4 o'clock this afternoon, I got a notification from our internet provider at the shop that the internet was out, and they expected it to be back online at 5:55 p.m. And as we know from the text message that I received earlier in the show, it didn't come on until 6:05, so I made the right call coming home. But this does lead me into a conversation that I would like to have that has kind of been on my mind ever since our class on Tuesday with Aloft. We have, long story short, I'm going to start doing more and more episodes from home. Um, Obviously not in this space because it's clearly not lit. There's not enough lighting in here to really do this adequately. Um, but I have the whole okay. So A to the L to the EXA and we have a minimum order requirement on Sundays. And the reason for that is because we try to chase away those customers that literally want us to come in for $50, right? Um, and or $100 or whatever. And we would never get a day off at all because as everybody knows, I mean, if we didn't have any kind of minimum order requirement for a Sunday, we would work every single day of the week without a break. And so we decided that we would have this minimum. The problem is with step chat and the reason I host step chat every Sunday is because on the very rare occasion I'm not working Sunday night at 6 p.m. my time. Now, of course, next month there are 2 days specifically that I will not be able to broadcast on Sunday because we will be working at 6 p.m. those nights at actual events. One of them, of course, is the Seattle Pride Parade, and one of them we have been booked out for an entire day by a university for we have to be there to pull balloon drops all day. So that's something else totally different. Um, the So with that being said, Sunday nights have always been a safe time for me to do the show. Um, but it also means that I have to be at the shop every Sunday. And I'm starting to really, I'm getting a bit overwhelmed by everything. I'm trying to take a much more serious approach to float than I ever have before. Um, and at the same time, I do feel an obligation to A to the L to the EXA that balloon designers has to come first. So with that being said, I feel like I'm not burning out, but I definitely feel like I'm living at the shop, right? And don't get me wrong. I mean, it's who I am. I mean, that's how I do it. But I really want to start making a change from that. I really want to start freeing myself up a little bit from having to be there all the time. I have a room here at the house that I have not done anything with in 5 years. I've been every 5 minutes. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna turn that into, and I never do. So I've decided that I am going to finally spend some time getting that room converted into an office that I can actually use, and that will be a satellite location for StepChat. Um, and the way my brain works, it's so messed up because I've been arguing with myself for a very long time. It's StepChat. It's StepChat. You got to be on the step. It's StepChat. It's not StepChat if you're not on the step. What the hell is it if you're not on the step? It's not StepChat. And then I realized there's only one person that really gives a crap if it's on the step or not, and that's been me. Um, I don't think any of you would. I don't think it matters to any of you necessarily if I'm actually on the step or not. So the idea would be is that depending on the week, sometimes I'll be on the step, sometimes not. Um, and in that way, I can spend more time at home. I can spend more time doing things here. I can spend more time doing some recreational stuff as opposed to always being at the shop. So it's just one of those things. And yeah, so that's it. So I'm gonna start having it. Lori mentioned get a ring light. I actually have one at the shop. I used to use it. Um, when I was doing like the Tuesdays with Tony calls and then the Kickabout Release Back calls, when I was doing it in one particular place in the shop. Then when I moved from that particular location in the shop to the spot where you mostly see me now, the lighting there is much better. So it's locked away in the office. And when this whole thing crashed and when the internet went down at the shop and I had to rush home, I didn't even think to grab it. So yeah, so there's that. So um Sherry Hatcher, I don't care if you were on the step, but I was going to harass you about it. There you go. Um Dina, dude, if you don't build steps at your office, I am out. That's funny. The funniest part is that at one point we actually did talk about doing that. We thought it would be funny to build a set of steps to actually do the show on. Um, but now we're good, so it's fine. Um, so yeah, there's that. So if anybody's got any questions, by all means, I'm more than happy to address them for you. But yeah, the other side of the coin too, with the whole see, okay, the show normally ends right about now, right about 7 o'clock my time, but sometimes I don't even get home till almost 8. So now the great thing is when the show's done, I'm home. Yay! So there's no, not you know, I already got all the trash together, got all the stuff together, and blah blah blah. So yeah, I'm good. So there we go. Um, Very excited about our teacher announcements coming up. We have some, we got some good people coming to float. I'm excited. I'm excited. Um, I haven't been here for the last 2 weeks. Have we talked about the Floaty Awards? That's a good question. We actually did talk about the Floaties last week. Um, oh, that's an idea. There you go. That would be funny actually and distracting. Um, so we did. I believe it was last week. It may not have been last week. It might have been 2 weeks. But we did talk about the Floaties. The we did add a category to the Floaty Awards. We added the distortion category. So there will be 33 categories for the Floaties this time around. Um, however, however, what we are also going to do this year for the first time ever is we are going to allow sponsors to pay for their own floaties. So the 33 general categories they can't change. They can sponsor them, but they can't change them. But we are allowing them this year to sponsor brand new categories. So they could make up their own. I mean, you could literally create a category, you know, best orange decor if you really want to do that. The best example I had was like with like Paul Teal. He's got a business in framing, eventframing.com. And so in other words, like he could sponsor an award that's best framing. And then you would submit photos of frames you've made or whatever and blah blah that kind of thing. So that's how it could work. So I don't have anything new on that yet because the sponsor information goes out on June 7th or June 9th. Can't remember. I have to look that up. It's the 9th, 7th or 9th, one of the two. But those packets go out to the sponsors. And by the way, if you are one of our sponsors and you're watching right now, the packet itself is actually probably going to go out on, it's June 9th. It's June 9th because June 7th is a Saturday. Sorry. The packet itself is probably going to go out a week beforehand, like we normally do. So the packet itself will probably go out on June 2nd, but the links won't be live until the night. So there's that. Um, let's see here. Lori's suggestion: fit for float and step thing. So I should do step chat from a stepping machine. That would be interesting if I could hit the buttons on the computer to change the slides. That would be a funny thing. Tabitha, paint your office orange for float. I don't want to paint it orange, but I do plan to create a section, a wall that looks a little more professional, right? Um, like when you go on, you see people and they're zooming from home, or they're doing whatever, and they've got this really nice bookshelf or something behind them. They got this nice little setup, and I always feel like you're always looking at our mess in the back and all kinds of other stuff. So I do want to. I do want to create some kind of floatish setup that that would be behind me in the backdrop of the stream. So that would be fun. But yeah, other than that, so there's that. Um, but yeah, Sherry, um, the floaty content would not. I believe it's November 17th is when those would start being submitted. So we have plenty of time for that. But the 33 categories, we could actually, I mean, we should probably get them online so people can start preparing for them. I think that would be a good idea. Um, yeah. So, oh, and Miss Stephanie mentioned earlier, by the way, and I forgot to bring this up because I got sidetracked. Um, the hotel, the Grand Sierra Resort and Casino, has updated our link to include the suites. So if you are interested in booking a suite at the hotel as opposed to just a standard room, you can now do that through the link that you were sent through Float. So if you go to log in, you'll notice now that there are a lot more room options available. And they do come at a discounted price, but they're at a discounted price compared to what the suites normally are. So I wouldn't say you're not going to get a suite for the convention rate, but I will attest that the suites are pretty nice. There's some really nice ones. And see, that's the great thing about negotiating this event is I pretty much get to pick which one I get. And the best part about this one is there are so many really nice ones at this hotel that it really doesn't. I mean, there's only like in St. Louis, there's one. Well, there's two, but there's really one. They have the presidential suite in St. Louis, which is actually a two-story room with this big open atrium kind of thing, and the bedrooms upstairs and the living rooms downstairs. And whenever we do Fulcrum there, that's my room. And this time around, I was pissed because it was booked. Now, to be fair, I don't want to be too angry about it because it was booked to a wedding. There was a wedding that took place there right before us, and the bride and groom were staying over a couple days at the hotel. So I don't want to. That was a good reason to. That was a good reason not to have the room, and I didn't want to shift halfway. I was already in the suite that I was in St. Louis. If you remember back in the days, the very first time we ever did a hospitality suite and it was in a room, that was the room I was in. Um, so there's that. Um, so yeah, there's all that. Um, so if you want to get a suite, you can upgrade and get a suite. So there's that. Okay, well, it looks like now everybody's pretty much got their stuff in, and we're good to go. I see a separate conversation going on entirely, so I guess that's saying all this. Um, Again, really excited about the announcements coming in a week. Hope you can join us. The very first round of them starts a week from tonight. I'll be announcing 3 instructors headed your way to Float 2026. So in the meantime, stay busy. I hope if you're not planning. Oh, I'm sorry. Tabitha did ask a question. I forgot to answer it. What's our minimum order for work on Sunday? We have a minimum order of $300 for Sundays, and believe it or not, that chases away 90% of the business. Um, so yeah, if somebody wants us to do an event for them on a Sunday, it's a minimum $300. And I swear to God, 9 out of 10 people cannot get off the phone fast enough or stop emailing. Um, Now, of course, we do offer that if they can receive them on Saturday, then it's not a factor. So, in other words, if they just want like a $200 garland or something like that, um, and they're like, oh, our event's on Sunday. Well, the garlands can be dropped off. I can bring it to you on Thursday. What's not a big deal. Um, And so at that point, we turn around and by the way, I should emphasize that minimum does not count the delivery fee. So if somebody it's $300 in decor, and then the delivery charges and everything are on top of that. So somebody can't order they can't order $200 worth of decor and then a $100 delivery fee, and that's it. That's we don't do it that way. Um, and I know some of you right now are being very judgy, and you're like, "That's it. I have a $300 minimum all the time." I We can't function that way here. We can't function that way. Um, we have a lot of corporate clients that we have quite a few corporate clients that don't spend that much on a regular basis. But they order a lot, right? We don't get we have orders that $200 orders that are almost every week. You gonna really turn that down? Say no, our minimum's three. No, you don't. You just take it and you go with it. Um, and then on holiday weekends, like this coming weekend, it's $500. And that again will chase off almost everybody. In fact, Memorial Day weekend, it's very rare that we actually have a job on Memorial Day weekend. We do this time. We have a wedding to do on Sunday. Um, but I'm always inundated with birthday party requests and all this other stuff, and then we drop that $500 number, and they can't be gone fast enough. Um, so my whole attitude is very simple. It's like, look, if everybody else is getting the holiday weekend off, why can't we? And thankfully, we are in a position where we can afford to do that. Not everybody can, and I understand that. Not everybody is in a position where they can afford. They got to take everything coming in the door, and I understand that. I'm very happy that we are in a position after many years of working our butts off that we can turn business down. But there is just nothing more frustrating than thinking to yourself, you know what? We don't have any work and I've got literally 4 days off. I could go to Disneyland, or I could go flop on a chair in Reno for or Vegas for a week for a couple of days or whatever, right? And then suddenly you can't because you've got a $50 order here and you've got a $150 order here and you got a $200 here, and you're like, at that point it's not worth it. So at some point it's that whole work life balance thing. You got to be able to do it, and we offer people options. Like I said, if we can deliver it on the day before, it's fine. But in the case of like Sundays, a lot of times we'll get like, oh no, it's taking place in a restaurant, or it's taking place here, or it's taking place wherever. Well, then we can't do it. Sorry. We'd love to help you, but not going to be able to. Weddings are fun depending on the bride. Yeah, I will say that that is a true statement. It does depend on the bride, and it depends on the mother of the bride. In some cases, it's more the mother than anything. But I will also say, really quickly, that back in 2013, I was the one planning and running my wedding with Rio because I was the event professional, and I wanted to, I mean, obviously she had discretionary power to decide things she wanted and didn't want. That wasn't what it was. But like I was doing all the work for it. I was doing all the planning. I was doing all the physical meeting with people and all the other stuff and coordinating stuff. And I completely understand why bridezillas exist. Yes, there are times when there are absolutely times when a bridezilla is just a not pleasant person. But I will also argue that bridezillas are made and not born. I was shocked the number of people who tried to tell me how to run the wedding and tried to tell me how to run the reception. And I'm not even talking about family. My family was great. Her family was great. It was the self-entitled guests. I was informed that if there was meat being served at the reception, that they would be RSVPing a hefty no. I was told, why didn't my dog get an invitation to the wedding? Um, that's just some of the fun stuff I had to deal with these people that Rio invited, not me. Um, but I'm just like, you gotta be. I mean, literally, some of these people were like, and then the dietary thing was the biggest thing. Like people literally started telling me what they would and would not eat, and not what they can or can't eat, what they would or would not eat. And at that point, I'm just like, you know what? We'll see you later. This was the nice thing too about having a destination wedding. The wedding was 4 hours from our house, so it wasn't just anybody could just show up. You had to make an effort to go. So thankfully that also drove a bunch of these kinds of people out. So that worked out pretty good. Okay, I've done enough rambling for now. Folks, thank you all very much for joining me tonight. Really appreciate it. Really excited about the announcements coming next week. In the meantime, stay profitable. Hope you're working hard. And if you're not working hard, I hope you're relaxing well. We'll see you next time. Thanks.